Hey, welcome back to the DC Shoot Off podcast for episode 8. We've got Candin Muniz from the Air Force Press Desk.
Howdy. Good to be here.
And of course, we got Tyler Prince.
Hey guys, how's it going?
And me, Sam Morse. And don't forget, it's all play.
Hey guys, don't forget that the shoot-off starts this Thursday. If you still really want to come, you can still register at dcvideoshootoff.org. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about some tips and tricks to get you to the shoot-off and through it. I have actually never competed at the shoot-off. Last year on staff was my first year, but Sam and Candin have some experience both as students and mentors, so we're going to ask them
just mentor.
Bit. Just mentor, Sam?
Just mentor for the video shoot-off. I've done the photo shoot-off before.
Well, and I'll say that I've only done I have done shoot-offs before. I did the DoD Visual Media or the Visual Storytelling Workshop, but the DC Video Shoot-Off I've only been a mentor at.
Oh wow!
But either way, I mean,
we still give tips.
Very similar. The storytelling workshop was the same thing. 4-day competition. Go find stories. Present on the 5th day or the final day.
Yeah,
same sort of thing.
The shoot-off's a little more compressed than the visual storytelling workshops.
Oh, that's true.
And there's Eddie Adams' workshop has the same sort of format and everything.
Yeah,
so it's a pretty common format. So if you've done one workshop, a lot of the things kind of help you with other workshops as well.
Yeah, and this is probably actually a good time to talk about what to expect from those few days. The schedule is up on the website now, but the first couple of days are going to be primarily lecture and hands-on, where our instructors are going to talk about the concepts they want to teach you about, and then give you an opportunity to actually get your hands on the equipment that's going to be available to you at the workshop, so that when you're touching the Canon camera or the lights or the microphones, it's not the first time you've ever seen the thing before. So
it's always helpful.
Then after those first couple of days, you're sent off to go shoot. You got about 38 hours start to finish. There's not a lot of sleeping. There's a lot of collaboration, probably a few arguments, lots of energy drinks, and food that you shouldn't be eating. At least that's my experience with these kinds of
that's the magic of it, though. Come on, it's caffeine and grease all night, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, if you're getting plenty of sleep at the workshop, you're doing it wrong.
Amen.
And that's what you also had the mentors there for you, to help kind of deconflict some of the disagreements between team members, help kind of fill in any gaps in knowledge, especially technical side, and help guide the teams to success.
Yeah, absolutely. And Candin, you were a mentor last year. I actually kind of sort of co-mentored with you. I wasn't a very present co-mentor. But you want to talk a little bit about kind of some of the struggles your team faced and how they overcame them or didn't overcome them, depending on.
Well, yeah. And I'll say that the magic of this is that you're probably going to fail at something along the way. And that's the beauty of it, right? I don't know of any person that's ever attended a workshop and everything went according to plan. I don't know of anybody that ever went on a shoot and everything went according to plan. So my team last year yours and my team, they were the only ones that went out and actually found a story versus having a story in-house or creating something, right? Creating a story rather than finding one. And both are equally valid. Both are totally fine to do for a workshop like this. There are different struggles with that, though, right?
Well, and something just for those who are watching this, who were there last year, one of the big changes we're making this year is that you are not allowed to film your story in the hotel.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, we're making that decision just to kind of push people out of their comfort zones. We think that there were a lot of teams that just kind of, the hotel was a safe space and they just kind of filmed there. But we want to be good guests to the hotel so that they actually let us come back year after year. But also, push the students to do something outside their comfort zone, approach people, maybe do a nonfiction type of thing, uncontrolled action, rather than just sticking to that controlled action inside the hotel.
And that really and truly, when you're going out and finding a story or doing that uncontrolled action, to me, that's where a lot of the mental elasticity comes in, right? Because you've got to get out of your comfort zone. You've got to find somebody and you've got to say, why are you interesting? Right? If you've got to find something and go, why are you interesting? And so with my team, they went to we all went to the mall. And so we kind of looked around and we found a guy sitting on a bench and we started talking to him. And then that's where the story kind of evolved from there. And that's hard, plain and simple. It's hard to find people. It's hard to talk to people. You know, I can be a very social person, but it's very against my nature. And I think a lot of people
unfamiliar with DC, you're not talking about a shopping mall, right?
No, this is the National Mall. So we've got the Lincoln Memorial in the background. We've got this beautiful, gorgeous reflection pool in front of us. And it's a beautiful background, a beautiful everything. But who's outside at 5, 6 a.m.? And that's when we were out there. You know, at the end of the day, though, that's where you can learn a lot. Number one, you can meet incredible people just by asking you, why are you out here today? You know, you go anywhere. What are you up to today? Tell me a little bit about yourself. And I think that that's something that you can take back wherever you go, right? Even if you don't make another story in your life, if you take away that skill of asking somebody, hey, why are you interesting, right? You put some interest into somebody, then they will pour that interest back into you 9 times out of 10. And so, yes, it's a big struggle, but I always get a lot out of it. And what I saw in the team, and Tyler, I'm sure you saw the same thing, they left their comfort zone, but they started to explore more and more stories, and they started to find more and more threads, and they started to think more and more about how can they shift this into something interesting along the way.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's important this weekend as you're going through it to, one, be decisive. Don't sit around on a decision. It's best to make maybe not the right decision and adjust as you go than it is to, you know, be stuck in kind of decision paralysis because you're not exactly sure what the right way to go is. I also think it's important to be like, okay, we decided this 4 hours ago, but the situation has changed. Can we change this to better fit what we're trying to do? I think both things are okay. Like you said, Candin, I personally have never done a shoot where everything went the way I thought it would or looked the way I thought it would at the back end of it.
Boy, do I wish.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's good and bad to that, right? There's what I expect, you know, in our career field, especially if we're traveling a lot, we don't necessarily have the luxury of being able to go see something for ourselves before we get there to shoot it. So just having the ability to arrive, be like, this is not exactly what I thought I was getting myself into, but we can make the adjustment as needed to still come away with what we were hoping for.
Well, and in a workshop environment, honestly, if everything goes exactly the way you planned and you don't have any hiccups, that's a really good sign that you didn't learn anything, that you stayed 100% inside your comfort zone and didn't push yourself to try something new. I remember talking to JT Locke one time, granted photo side, not video. But he tried to fail. He always tried to fail at workshops. You know, he didn't try to win the prize at the end. He basically judged his success by how much he failed and how much he learned from the workshop. So, you know, you see some of the finished products and they're going to be a little rough, and that's okay. If you failed at something, as long as you learned from it, as long as you pushed yourself in some way, you've met the intent of the workshop. You know, that's the great thing about a workshop like this is unlike an assignment or something like that you have for your work. It's 100% okay if you fail 100%.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If you come away with a video that completely sucks, but you learned a lot from it, that's fine.
Yeah, that is totally valid.
Yeah.
And I would even argue, yes, it's great to win, but going into it with a competitive mindset kind of saps the magic of a shoot off out. Because at the end of the day, the prizes are excellent. There are going to be some phenomenal prizes, yes, but the people that you meet are going to stick with you for far longer than that piece of gear will stick with you. And there are people that I have worked with at previous shoot-offs before or previous workshops that I'm still in touch with regularly. As a matter of fact, Sam, you've got somebody at your shop that I was at the DoD VI storytelling workshop with, Master Sergeant, and his name just suddenly blanked on me. Chris Parr. Yes.
Chris Parr, yeah.
Master Sergeant Christopher Parr. We were on Team Roasted back in 2019, right? And
nice.
We didn't do well then.
He's a good dude.
He is a great guy. But that's my point. You know, you'll meet those phenomenal people. They're going to teach you a lot. They're going to have weaknesses. You're going to have weaknesses. And through those weaknesses and through your individual strengths, you come together and you learn so much and make a new connection.
And honestly, the mentors and the staff, I mean, we're not even eligible for the prizes. But there's a reason that we come back each year. And it's, you know, one, it's the giving back. As Chip Maury would say, give as freely as it was given. I take that challenge to heart, to make sure that I'm giving back to the community, but also, yeah, like, you know, seeing familiar faces, networking, learning from the students, learning from the mentors, learning from the other staff members. I mean, you learn so much regardless of what position you're in at the workshop. Absolutely love it for that.
I agree completely. I learned a ton about streaming last year from you, and I'm sure I'll learn a ton this year because none of it stuck, but
well, and it's going to be a very it's going to be a much more both complex setup and easier to use. Is kind of a weird combination, but should be a lot of fun, and we should have a really good stream this year.
I thought the stream was really good last year, so I'm sure it'll be good this year. I think the other thing too is you're going to get exposed to a lot of different ways to think about the process of making video next weekend. Everybody has their own process. Everybody does things a little differently, and it will probably throughout the weekend cause some people to butt heads a little bit because everybody does things a little differently. I think it's good to embrace that though, because you can learn as much from people who do things, I wouldn't say the wrong way necessarily, but you can learn, you know, what not to do, or, you know, you can learn. What I always find when I work with other editors is they know something about the program that I had no idea that it could even do. Mm-hmm. Like I wouldn't even know to ask how to do that because I didn't know that was an option. So I think it's great to sit with people who just have, you know, they probably learned Premiere, After Effects, or whatever the thing is they're doing in a completely different way than you, because everybody learns in their own way.
I still remember the first photo shoot off I went to, and Andrew Breeze was editing away, doing, you know, behind the scenes video and stuff like that. And I saw him use the JKL and I and O keys on a keyboard, and I had never even heard of editing using those keys. And
what are you typing?
What are you? Yeah. Wait, how are you pulling clips that fast? It was just it mind blown. So, I mean, whether you're brand new, or a seasoned veteran, I mean, there are always things to learn from your peers.
And for those who don't know, J is a shuttle backward, so your clip will play backwards. K is to play to stop, and then L in most editing programs is to play forward. I is to set an in point. O is to set an out point. And you know, it's one of those little things that if you are learning video recently, then you may not have ever heard of that. And that's another great thing about shoot-offs, like you're mentioning, is that you have all different ages and experience levels. We're not talking about, you know, the people that are there with you are not necessarily beginners. You know, the people who are there with you may have done the gig for 20 years. You know, they may have been doing it for 6 months. You don't really know. And hopefully you do find out. But you'll learn things from those people where they go, yeah, when I was cutting tape back in the day, you know, here's where that cut tool comes from. It might give you insight. Or with the person who got in 6 months, they'll go, hey, here's what CapCut can do for you. And you know, as much as vertical video hurts my soul, you know, you can learn it.
Yeah. And I mean, yeah, you make a great point that just because somebody just started video doesn't mean that they don't have things to teach you as well. You always want to walk into something like this with an open mind.
I mean, if anybody's on any social media platform and sees what 12-year-olds are doing with videos these days,
So true.
It
it's
hurts.
humbling.
It hurts. Yeah,
Humbling.
it is.
But it's great. You know, that speaks to the accessibility of things nowadays. And that's something that I have really fought myself to get on board with. When vertical video first came out, I was very, very against it and like, yep, exactly. Make video horizontal again. And I still love it. I still film that way. But you know what? I've got clients now who come to me and say, yeah, I want this for social media. And as a matter of fact, most of the people I work for make more money, get more followers off of that vertical platform than anything else. And if you look on the technical side for social media, take this back to your unit, take this back wherever. But anything on Meta, Instagram, Facebook, whatever, always prefers your video in reel format than anything else. Even if you take a full-on video and post it as a reel, it will do 4 to 5 times better. And so here we are, soon to get gray hair, soon to get on the old side of the organization, and times are changing. You will gain this insight from those people that are there at this workshop. Both people who have adapted, people, maybe somebody hasn't, but they're still doing it the old way. And you can gain just as much from that as you can from a new way.
Yeah, as somebody who came up in this career field, traditional broadcast, and as those skills very quickly were less applicable to my career, I found that finding a way to combine old concepts and skills with and applying it to the new stuff is going to make all your stuff better anyway. So it's always better to try and do a blend of old and new than just one way or the other.
And on that note, I would even add that if you're making a choice on which direction to go, choose the one that is most uncomfortable to you at this workshop. You know, if you're
workshop, yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
I mean, that's where you can grow.
If you really like to shoot and you don't like to edit, you should probably be the editor for your team.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things to do as a mentor is like, oh, you're really comfortable with the camera. Okay, you're editing. Oh, you like editing. You're on camera.
Yeah, obviously the shoot off's just for video, but I was a mentor at the Air Force Storytelling Workshop a few years ago, and I think we had one videographer, 2 writers, and a photographer. So the writer was editing, the videographer was writing, and the photographers were shooting video. And everybody was uncomfortable, but guess what? It came out pretty good at the end. So
yeah, I did that at the storytelling workshop that we hosted at the second AVS, and our writer kicked and screamed the entire time. He did not like writing, and he ended up winning best writing. So
yeah,
I mean, you never know. You never know with workshops what is going to be the most influential thing.
Yeah. Okay. Do we have any technical stuff we want to talk about? Guys, if your laptop is not that great, let's not shoot 4K or RAW or big codecs. Let's just make everybody's life easier. Shoot it in HD, shoot it compressed. You know, I highly recommend not shooting in log or flat this weekend. Probably try to do your best to get everything in camera.
Or 100%.
Or use, make sure that you've got some LUTs on hand. Getting some C-Log to Rec 709 LUTs might not be a bad idea if you do want to shoot log.
For sure.
Personally, I love shooting log, but I've got LUTs that let me edit quickly.
I also like shooting log, but I cannot, if I don't have a LUT, I can't look at that while I'm shooting. I have to shoot.
Is this where I plug color management in DaVinci Resolve?
Well, even when you're in camera, you know, making sure that you've got LUTs loaded onto your monitor. If you've got a camera where you can load LUTs, like the FX3s, the FX30s. I know, Candin, you like your Sonys as much as I do, but a lot of other cameras are letting you load LUTs now.
It's definitely becoming more and more common.
Yeah,
for every.
And now that I've got it, I wonder where it's been my entire life.
You know, and if you're scratching your head going, why are we shooting logs right now? I don't understand. Right. That's a good sign to you. That would be something that you're going to be uncomfortable with, that I would look into. Maybe, again, not to shoot it at the workshop unless you have a very good foundational understanding of video exposure and, you know, white balance and those kind of key basics. And if you don't have those things, that's okay. You'll get them, you'll learn them. But if you do have that foundational concept, look into it and start to dig deeper and deeper. One thing that I gain out of these workshops is a hunger for technical knowledge. You're going to run into different problems and you're going to want to say, well, how do I take this problem and how do I fix it? Right. And a mentor may have that. And I don't know about most other units out there, but I've been in dynamic shooting situations, shooting video in CV-22s and gunships, downrange when, you know, people are firing around you and whatnot. And I almost never come back with a perfect product, but knowing how to fix it, you'll get that from your mentors and from your fellow shooters. You know, again, have that hunger for the technical knowledge, and that'll really, really go a mile with you.
Yeah, definitely. Do we want to talk a minute about like kind of bare bones what we want to, if you're a student, what you want to bring? You know, at a minimum, you want to bring a camera. Obviously, there are going to be cameras for sign out from Candin, but just realize that, you know, they're first come, first serve, and you may not get the camera that you want. You may not get a camera from them at all if everybody wants an R5C or a C70. So make sure to bring a camera of your own. Bring a laptop with software. If you're bringing a DoD laptop or, you know, a work laptop, make sure that your software works. Make sure that you boot it up and make sure that your Adobe licenses are working properly when you get there. We'll have somebody from Adobe that might be able to help out a little bit, but realistically, you want to make sure that your software is good to go before you leave. Making sure that you're bringing a tripod at the very least for your camera. By all means, bring gimbals, bring other stuff, but at a bare minimum, bring a tripod. I would recommend bringing a monitor. If you have like an Atomos monitor, small HD, something along those lines, like we were just talking about, making sure that you're being able to use a LUT if you want to shoot log, have a nice big screen that you can manually focus. Condor Blue is going to be bringing some cages for the C70s and R5Cs that Candin will have.
Nice.
So you'll have places to mount those monitors, have a nice big screen, but don't have supplying monitors. So you'll want to bring those for yourself.
If you've got microphones,
yes.
Particularly wireless lavaliers, if you have those, they're going to come in handy.
At least
it's always nice to be able to mic your subject, whether they're close to you, far away from you, whether it's controlled or uncontrolled action. The ability to get sound right from the source is always going to be better than from far away.
100%.
And also some sort of shotgun mic for the camera, you know, something where you can get good NAT sound, something where you can get good interview sound. If you got a boom pole, even better. Hollyland's going to be there with some of their Lark systems. But again, we can't guarantee that every team's going to get one. So bring your own stuff, and hopefully you'll be able to try out the new stuff as well.
And let me throw out a wild thing to bring, potentially a shower curtain, right? And I don't mean in the sense of a Patrick Bateman, excuse me. I don't mean that in the sense of a Patrick Bateman-esque scenario or situation. Please don't do that in the hotel room. You have your own homes for that. But what I mean is,
we said no shooting in the hotel in every sense of the word.
That's right. And that includes axes. But a shower curtain is actually a very, very versatile piece of light diffusion. And they're cheap. They're $2 at Walmart. Go get yourself a cheap shower curtain, and you can hang that up in front of any light source and diffuse it immediately. They're pack up really small that you could throw it away when you're done with it if you want to. I'm not saying waste it, but you know, it's something that's super small, super easy. You can hang it up anywhere with just about anything, and you can improve your lighting by just diffusing it a little bit. You know, and that's an easy, great, cheap way to do it.
Yep. And if you've got a 5-in-1 reflector, even better.
Yep. Also, white bed sheets work great as diffusion, and black bed sheets work great as negative fill.
That's a great point.
If you need it in a pinch.
That's a great point. lighting is one of those things that I would say, if you have the opportunity to practice a controlled lighting setup, do it. Do it. It's a challenge to do it well. It's easy to shove a light in somebody's face or, beam a sun gun right into their eyes or whatever. You can do that. And in some cases that works, but challenge yourself to set up a cinematic lighting experiences, mix color tones if you can. Right now I have a Xun Molus G200 going through at like 5,600 Kelvin, and I've got like a 2,700 Kelvin light in the background, and it can just make things a little bit dynamic, give a shot to those kind of crazy things you wouldn't have ever done before.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, if we want to get into lighting setups, there's a few lights going on.
Hours on the day, Sam.
Fair.
We'll save that for the after party. Yeah.
But yeah, if you've got lights, and definitely any piece of gear that's been kind of sitting in a back corner in your shop that you don't know how to use, bring it. Chances are somebody on the staff, one of the mentors is going to probably have used that piece of gear themselves and can tell you exactly how to use it. So don't be afraid to bring stuff that you've never used, never intended to use. If you can fit it in your bag and bring it with you, bring it.
I would say particularly if you have stuff in some of our categories of lessons, so the cinematic camera movement, lighting, audio. If you have gear like that you don't know how to use, that you want to bring to that hands-on opportunity and get someone to kind of show you how to use it so you can practice, be a good idea.
And I'll also add that ND filters are one of those things that your shop probably has. Many people have probably not used them. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure, like 90% sure, in the X6 kits that are checked out to all Air Force PA shops, you've got a variable ND filter in there. Bring that, please. If you have filter rings to adapt that to smaller lenses, and again, your mentors can show you how to do this, do that as well. Even better if you have a camera with a variable ND built in. But
which the C70 does.
Exactly. You've got the C70 if you have a Sony FX6, or if you've got even an old JVC 700, right? I don't know, whatever. If you're traveling with that thing, good luck. But at the end of the day, those ND filters are especially important here in DC because you can go from cloud cover 1 second to bright and sunny day the next. And there's nothing worse than having a beautiful shot and then it's just ruined by direct harsh sunlight, or you're all set for the sun and then all of a sudden, bam, cloud cover hits and your subject is completely gone, right? And it's one of those things that can really help.
If you just crank your shutter speed, everyone will know. Everyone will know.
It's going to make it look choppy.
It's going to make it look weird.
We'll find ourselves on the beaches of Normandy, or we'll be in the Bourne Identity, one way or the other.
Unless that's what you're going for. There are times to do that creatively. And I'm actually going to be talking a little bit about that during the cinematic movement lecture. But the ND filters for daylight shooting are super important. I'm actually a fan of the magnetic ND filters. If anyone's curious about those, I'll probably bring my set with me just so I can shoot some stuff for funsies. Yeah. But you basically get a lot of the speed of a variable ND, but none of the color shifts and other weirdness that you can get from a variable ND.
Mr. Moneybags over here, huh? I'm kidding.
It's not, he's Mr. Moneybags. He doesn't buy groceries or other stuff.
Yeah.
He just buys camera stuff.
Tyler, it sounds like Tyler's joking. He's really not. Basically, all of my money goes to camera.
Is this turning into a Videographers Anonymous? Because I don't have my confessions ready for that one.
We don't have time for that. We really don't have time.
Hi, I'm Candin.
So we've talked about gear. We've talked a little bit about what to expect from the few days. We've talked about some technical tips. I think the last thing we should talk about is just the most important thing you can bring next weekend is a great attitude
and clothing.
Willingness to learn.
And definitely clothing.
Definitely bring clothing. Yes, Thank you.
Civilian clothing. Don't go walking around the National Mall in uniform. I mean, granted, you'll get a lot of love from the people there, but you're gonna have a tough time keeping a low profile. And speaking of the National Mall, one thing just to be aware of, a lot of these locations in downtown DC, these iconic locations, they do actually require shooting permits if you're planning to put down sticks or use any sort of professional looking camera gear. So just be aware of that. Try not to rely on shots that require shooting at the National Mall. And honestly, as much as it seems like a really great idea to do an interview at the National Mall, having done that myself, it's a terrible idea. And not for the reason you might think. It's directly in the flight path for DCA, Reagan International, which means every few minutes you are going to have.
And those American Eagle pilots are wild. I've seen fighter pilots with better discipline than some of those American Eagle pilots. Okay. They do not joke.
I filmed with one of my counterparts on the National Mall, and it was General Brown. And the amount of times we had to hold for audio or re-record a section for audio. Oh, yeah. You don't want to do an interview there anyway. Just don't.
No, and it's extremely dynamic as well. How do you guys feel about talking about some of the places you might find good stories? Just in your opinion of, how you go about and find stories. What do you think?
So honestly, I think one of the best places to look for stories is shoot what you know. Especially if you've got a team member who is a DC local, chances are they've got some local connections. The year that I mentored a team for the DC video shoot off, one of the years, I should say, we had a local on our team that had a connection with a local martial arts academy. And so the project ended up being a martial arts film. And we don't be afraid to pick the location even before the topic is announced, because there's always a way to turn your story in a way that matches the theme. That particular year, the theme was humor. So we found a way to put a comedic twist on the idea that we already had. So, start looking for locations early. I mean, like now. And I'm saying now as we're recording, not even, Tuesday when we actually release this before the workshop, but then, don't be afraid to lean on personal connections, and, make some phone calls before you even get out to DC if you're not local.
And shoot in shooting what find something that genuinely interests you. I think, when I was younger in the videography business, I wanted to shoot what I thought was cool, but I didn't really have a vested interest in it. And that reflected in my storytelling. But when I found something that I cared about, I found that my storytelling was naturally better because I'm now interested. I'm sucked in. I am now interested in watching this documentary or this short or whatever this is. When you care about something, you put more onus into it. You own it, and I think that's something really powerful you can leverage here. If you like coffee, there's a lot of coffee shops in DC, and not all of them are Starbucks, right? If you like music, there's a lot of local music stores, and the character in those places is incredible. Find an old dusty record store in Georgetown, right? And you'll have a great time there. And that's some of the ways you can kind of find a story quickly, but not just a story, but one that you actually care about and are invested in.
Yeah, I remember vividly there was this was back when it was still the DoD photo workshop. I went there and I had a story, and I'm an introvert. Like, people may think otherwise. I really am an introvert. I have crippling social anxiety. Me going up to a random person is really difficult for me. And I deliberately decided to do my story going into the Baltimore Harbor. This was when it was based out of Arundel Mills. Don't go to the Baltimore Harbor for the DC shoot off. That's just too far. But I went to the park in the Inner Harbor and deliberately did kind of like a snapshot of life in the Inner Harbor, where I did portraits and candid photos of, a different person for each photo in my photo story, specifically to force myself to, each day I went out shooting, go up to random people, talk to them, establish that relationship, get the photo, and then do it all over again with the next one. It was highly uncomfortable for me, but at the same time, that is what helped me grow. And, you don't necessarily have to go that far. But, sometimes that whole adage of, get outside your comfort zone, that could be the subject matter too. Just make sure that it's something that you can be invested in and, you can grow from and go for it.
Well, on that note, I think that's a pretty damn good place to stop, unless you guys have some other wisdom you'd like to impart before we go.
All good here.
Okay. All right. Remember, if you want to register, there's still time. dcvideoshootoff.org. Other than that, we'll see you guys on Thursday at signups, nice, bright and early in the morning.
And we will be streaming live at dcshootoff.adobeconnect.com/video. We'll post a link to it on social media, but that's going to be a free live stream produced by yours truly and Tyler as well. We've got Lance Chung helping us as well. And so even if you can't make it in person, the live stream is going to be available. And if you can make it in person, even better.
Great. All right. I will see you guys. Well, Sam, will see you in a few days. Candin, it was good seeing you again and having a chat.
Good to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Anytime, man. All right. Peace.
Make epic stuff, and we'll see you next time.
Nerd.
What?
It's going to make it in.
Let's do it.